A letter from Social Security you should not ignore. Right now, across the country, millions of seniors are checking their mailboxes without realizing something important may already be on the way. This is not a stimulus check. It's not a warning notice, and it's not junk mail. It's an official letter from Social Security. And for many people, it's one of the most overlooked financial documents of the entire year. Every year around this time, the Social Security Administration sends out a quiet but critical form. Many retirees glance at the envelope, assume it doesn't apply to them, and set it aside unopened. Others throw it away, believing it's only relevant if they file taxes. That assumption can be costly. This letter doesn't announce a new payment. It doesn't change your monthly benefit, but it documents your income in a way that can affect future benefits, tax issues, and eligibility for assistance programs. What makes this moment especially important is how easily it's missed. There's no urgency in the language, no bold warnings, no instructions telling you to act fast. And that's exactly why so many people underestimate it. For seniors living on Social Security, SSDI, or SSI, this document plays a quiet role in protecting your financial record. Ignoring it doesn't cause immediate problems, but it can create serious ones later. In this video, we'll break down what this letter is, why it matters even if you don't file taxes, and what every senior should do the moment it arrives. Why Social Security still uses paper mail. Many seniors ask a fair question. In a world of online banking, email alerts, and digital statements, why does Social Security still send paper mail? The answer is simple and important. When the Social Security Administration sends something through the mail, it usually means that document carries legal and official weight. Paper mail is still the primary method SSA uses for records that may later be referenced by the IRS, state agencies, or assistance programs. This is not about convenience. It's about verification. Digital notifications can be missed, emails can go to spam, online accounts can be forgotten, but a physical letter creates a paper trail, one that protects both the government and the beneficiary. That's why certain documents are never sent by text or email. They arrive quietly, in a plain envelope, without urgency or explanation. And that's also why many seniors underestimate them. Another key reason is accessibility. Not every retiree uses a computer. Not everyone is comfortable with online accounts. Social Security is required to ensure that official records reach people regardless of technology. So when something arrives by mail from SSA, it's not marketing, it's not optional, and it's not random. It's a formal record, one that may matter months or even years later. Understanding this helps reframe how seniors should view these letters. They are not interruptions, they are documentation, and documentation in retirement is protection. What this letter actually is. Form SSA 1099 explained. So let's be very clear about what this letter actually is. The document most seniors are receiving is called Form SSA 1099. This is not a bill. It is not a notice that your benefits are changing, and it is not a demand for action. Form SSA 1099 is an annual summary of how much money the Social Security Administration paid you during the previous year. It applies to people receiving Social Security retirement benefits, SSDI, and certain survivor benefits. Inside the form, you'll see a total dollar amount. That number represents the gross benefits paid, before deductions like Medicare Part B premiums. This is where confusion often starts. Many seniors compare that total to what they remember receiving in their bank account and think something is wrong. But the monthly deposits you see are usually net amounts after deductions. The SSA 1099 shows the full amount paid on your behalf. Why does this matter? Because this form becomes your official income record for Social Security. It's the same number reported to the IRS. It's the number used if you ever need to verify income for housing assistance, benefit reviews, or future programs. Even if you don't file taxes, this document still matters. It quietly defines how the system sees your income. That's why opening the letter and understanding what it is the first step in protecting your financial record. Why this form matters even if you don't file taxes. One of the most common reactions seniors have when they see Form SSA 1099 is simple. I don't file taxes, so this doesn't apply to me. That assumption is understandable, but it's also risky. Even if you are not required to file a tax return, Form SSA 1099 is still your official income record. It's how Social Security documents what you received, and it's the same information shared with the IRS and other government agencies. That means this form can matter long after tax season is over. For example, if you ever apply for housing assistance, energy assistance, or other income-based programs, this document may be used to verify your income. If the numbers are wrong, but even slightly, correcting them years later becomes much more difficult. There's also a future-proofing issue many seniors don't think about. Rules change. In the past, there have been years when people who normally didn't file taxes were suddenly required to file to qualify for certain benefits or credits. Having accurate records already in place prevents panic if that happens again. Checking this form doesn't mean creating work. It doesn't mean calling Social Security. It simply means confirming that the information matches your reality. Think of Form SSA 1099 like a snapshot. If the snapshot is correct, you file it away. If it's wrong, catching it now protects you from much bigger problems later. How to quickly check if your SSA 1099 is accurate. The good news is this: you don't need an accountant. You don't need to call Social Security. And you don't need to understand tax law to check whether your SSA 1099 looks right. There's a simple, practical way to review it. Start by looking at the total benefits paid on the form. This is the gross amount Social Security says it paid you during the year. Next, take the monthly benefit you're used to seeing before Medicare deductions and multiply it by 12. The two numbers don't need to match perfectly to the dollar, but they should be very close. If you had a cost of living adjustment during the year, a small difference is normal. If Medicare premiums changed, that's normal too. What you're looking for are large gaps, not pennies. If the number on the SSA 1099 feels dramatically higher or lower than expected, that's when attention matters. Another thing to check is your name and Social Security number. A simple typo may seem harmless, but errors in identity information can cause problems later when records are matched across agencies. Most of the time, everything is correct. And when it is, the process ends here. You file the form away and move on. But if something looks off, catching it now, when the record is fresh, is far easier than trying to fix it years down the road. A few minutes of review today can prevent months of stress later. What to do if something on your SSA 1099 looks wrong. If you review your SSA 1099 and something doesn't look right, the most important thing is this: don't panic and don't ignore it. Mistakes on these forms are uncommon, but they do happen. And when they do, handling them early makes the process far simpler. The first step is to identify what seems wrong. Is the total benefit amount far off? Is your name misspelled? Is the Social Security number incorrect? If the issue is minor, like a typo, it still matters, but it's usually easy to fix. The next step is to contact Social Security directly, either by phone or by visiting a local SSA office. This is not something to delay for months. Corrections are easiest when records are still recent. When you call or visit, have your SSA 1099 and recent bank statements available. You're not accusing anyone of wrongdoing. You're simply asking for clarification or correction. It's also important to document the interaction. Write down the date, the name of the representative, and what was discussed. That record protects you if questions arise later. What you should not do is assume the error will work itself out. Once information is shared with the IRS and other agencies, correcting it becomes more complicated. Addressing a concern now doesn't create trouble. It prevents it. Why this document can matter years from now. It's easy to think of Form SSA 1099 as a one-time piece of paper, something that matters only in the moment. But for many seniors, this document quietly follows them for years. That's because SSA 1099 isn't just a summary of last year's payments. It becomes part of your long-term income history. That history is referenced whenever income needs to be verified, sometimes long after the original form was mailed. For example, if you apply for housing assistance, property tax relief, energy assistance, or other income-based programs, agencies may ask for proof of past income. SSA 1099 is often the document they rely on. It can also matter if questions ever arise about benefit calculations, overpayments, or eligibility reviews. When records are checked years later, the numbers on file, not memory, determine outcomes. This is where problems can begin. If an error goes unnoticed now, it can resurface at the worst possible time, when you need help, not paperwork battles. Fixing a mistake from last year is manageable. Fixing one from 5 years ago is far harder. That's why this form deserves more respect than it usually gets. You don't need to memorize it. You don't need to act unless something is wrong, but you do need to recognize it as part of your financial history. In retirement, quiet paperwork often carries long echoes. How this form can affect future assistance or benefits. Many seniors are surprised to learn that Form SSA 1099 doesn't just sit in a drawer. It often plays a role behind the scenes when future assistance or benefits are reviewed. When you apply for programs like housing assistance, energy assistance, Medicaid-related services, or property tax relief, agencies usually need to confirm your income, and when they do, they don't rely on estimates or explanations. They rely on official records. That's where the SSA 1099 comes in. Because this form documents your Social Security income in a standardized way, it is often used as a reference point. If the number on file is higher than expected, it can affect eligibility. If it's lower or inaccurate, it can raise questions that delay approval. In some cases, agencies cross-check information across systems. If records don't match, seniors may be asked to provide additional documentation, sometimes years after the income was received. This doesn't mean the form is something to fear. It means it's something to respect. Having an accurate SSA 1099 makes these processes smoother. It reduces the chance of delays, misunderstandings, or requests for extra proof during moments when assistance is needed most. For retirees, especially those living close to eligibility thresholds, even small discrepancies can matter. That's why reviewing this document now is not about today. It's about removing obstacles from your path tomorrow. Paper mail versus online access. Which option is right for you? At this point, many seniors ask another reasonable question. Should I rely on paper mail, or should I switch to online access with Social Security? The truth is, there is no single right answer. What matters most is choosing the option that works best for you. Paper mail remains the default for a reason. It doesn't require passwords, it doesn't depend on internet access, and for many retirees, it feels more secure and easier to manage. Official letters arrive, you read them, and you store them physically. For seniors who are comfortable with technology, creating an online Social Security account offers additional flexibility. You can download documents like the SSA 1099 instantly. You can review benefit information at any time, and you don't have to wait for mail delivery. But online access also comes with responsibility. Passwords must be protected, accounts must be monitored, and not everyone wants that added layer of digital management. What's important to understand is this: you are not required to go online. Social Security continues to mail official documents to ensure no one is excluded. Choosing paper does not put you at a disadvantage. The best system is the one you actually use consistently. A perfect online account means nothing if it's forgotten. A paper file works well if it's organized and reviewed. In retirement, comfort and clarity matter more than convenience. Why you don't need to take any immediate action. When seniors hear that an official Social Security document is arriving, the first reaction is often anxiety. Did something change? Did I do something wrong? Do I need to call someone right away? In most cases, the answer is no. Form SSA 1099 is informational. It does not require payment, it does not demand a response, and it does not change your monthly benefits. That's an important distinction. Social Security is very clear when action is required. Letters that demand a response are labeled clearly. They include deadlines, they explain consequences. The SSA 1099 does none of that because it isn't asking you to do anything. The purpose of this document is record keeping, not enforcement. For many seniors, simply opening the envelope, reviewing the information, and filing it away safely is enough. There is no need to call SSA unless something looks incorrect. There is no requirement to file taxes if you were not already required to do so. This matters because unnecessary action can create stress where none is needed. Calling offices that are already busy, worrying about problems that don't exist, or assuming urgency where there is none. Preparedness is not the same as panic. The right response to this letter is calm attention, not immediate action. When you should act and when you definitely should not, understanding when to act and then when not to is just as important as understanding the document itself. Let's start with when you should act. You should take action if the information on your SSA 1099 is clearly wrong. That includes a large mismatch in the total benefit amount, an incorrect name, or an incorrect Social Security number. These are not details to ignore because they can affect future records. You should also act if you are required to file taxes and need the form for that purpose. In that case, it becomes part of your normal filing process. Now, here's when you should not act: if the numbers look reasonable, if your personal information is correct, and if you are not required to file taxes. In those situations, there is no benefit to calling Social Security, no need to schedule appointments, and no urgency to do something. Calling without a clear issue often leads to long wait times and unnecessary stress. Worse, it can create confusion when there was no problem to begin with. The goal here is not activity, it's accuracy. Social Security paperwork rewards calm review, not rapid response. Knowing the difference protects your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. In retirement, the smartest action is often knowing when no action is needed at all. Common mistakes seniors make with SSA mail. Most problems related to Social Security mail don't come from bad decisions. They come from small, understandable mistakes that seem harmless at the time. One of the most common mistakes is not opening the envelope at all. Many seniors assume official-looking mail is either advertising, tax-related, or irrelevant, so it gets set aside, sometimes permanently. Another frequent mistake is throwing the document away after a quick glance. Because the SSA 1099 doesn't demand action, it's easy to think it has no long-term value. But once it's gone, replacing it can be inconvenient and stressful. Some seniors make the opposite mistake, overreacting. They see official language and immediately panic, calling SSA or worrying that benefits are at risk even when nothing is wrong. There's also the mistake of not storing documents properly. Important papers get mixed with junk mail, misplaced during moves, or lost over time. Years later, when proof of income is needed, the document is nowhere to be found. Finally, many people assume, if there's a problem, SSA will contact me again. That's not always true. Records are often assumed correct unless challenged. None of these mistakes are dramatic, but over time they create unnecessary risk. The safest approach is simple: open the mail, review it calmly, and store it securely. A simple system to store and protect your SSA documents. At this point, the question becomes practical. Once you've opened the letter and confirmed everything looks correct, what should you actually do with it? The answer doesn't require anything complicated. The safest approach is to create a simple, repeatable system for Social Security documents, one that works year after year. Start with one clearly labeled folder. It can be a physical folder or a small filing box. Label it something obvious like Social Security records. Inside that folder, keep your annual SSA 1099 forms, benefit notices, and any important correspondence. There's no need to organize by month. Organizing by year is enough. Each time a new document arrives, glance at it, confirm it looks right, and place it in the folder. That's it. No scanning required, no constant review, just consistency. If you prefer digital records, you can also download copies from your Social Security account and store them on a computer or secure drive. But this is optional, not required. What matters most is that you know where your records are when you need them. Years from now, if an agency asks for proof of income or if a question comes up about benefits, you won't be searching through drawers or guessing. You'll have the document ready. In retirement, simple systems reduce stress, and less stress is its own form of security. The final takeaway: one small habit that protects your financial peace. As we close, it's important to step back and look at the bigger picture. This letter from Social Security is not dramatic. It doesn't announce new money, and it doesn't demand action. But that's exactly why it matters. In retirement, financial stability is rarely threatened by one big event. It's usually affected by small things ignored over time: documents not opened, records not checked, paperwork not saved. Form SSA 1099 represents the opposite of that risk. Opening the letter, reviewing it calmly, storing it in one safe place. Those three small habits don't feel important in the moment, but together they quietly protect you from future confusion, delays, and unnecessary stress. They make it easier to prove income if you ever need assistance. They help avoid problems if rules change. And they give you confidence that your records match reality, not assumptions. That's what financial peace looks like in retirement. Not chasing headlines, not reacting to rumors, not worrying about things you can't control, just steady habits repeated once a year. You don't need to do more, and you don't need to do less. One letter, one review, one folder. Sometimes the simplest routines are the ones that protect you the most.